Dude, my dog will not quit opening the door.
What a way to start this show here. Trevor is
I went
all
up and
over the
shut
place.
it, and then he saw me shut it, and then I just hear him walk back over, nudge the door back open, and then leave again.
Hey,
He just wants to hang out with you.
Irritating me,
he
dude.
wants to be with you.
Yeah,
4 dogs, 1 podcast.
that's right.
This is he loves you, Trevor. He loves you.
I love him too, but
That's just,
if the
well,
doors open, the entire house would be able to hear me. So
well, what a way to start the show. That's how we start it here. All of us are back together for the first time in a couple
the
weeks.
band.
Jerry is back from Mizzou. Now
Sunburn.
back in the dirty St. Louis. What's worse, Missouri, or what's better, St. Louis or the campus of Missouri?
I have to give it to St. Louis slightly because outside of Columbia and the lovely campus of Mizzou, there is nothing there. Mid Missouri is very bland. But you know what's better than both of them? The whole state compared to Kansas. Nothing. Nothing is good in Kansas, including the football team.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll get into that. So today we're going to go through college football, week 2, NFL week 1. To start out here with college football, we had some upsets this week, some pretty big ones. USF goes into the Swamp and beats number 13 Florida 18-16. Ugly game. Billy Napier probably going to be fired, I would say, sometime this year, if not at the end. Let the Lane Kiffin rumors start up again. That was a thing last season. Let it start back up. Lane train in Gainesville. I'm calling it right now. And then another one that I didn't expect would ever happen in this school's history is this guy has his shirt off as they tore down the goalpost. Mississippi State upset number 12 Arizona State 24-20 at home. Maybe the biggest one in their program's history.
Which is so weird to say. You would think Mississippi State, which has a pretty solid football history, that their biggest upset win is a Big 12, former Pac-12 school. And is Arizona State, a team that has historically been kind of a middling ground program. It's had some moments, right, obviously, and as of recent, very, very good under Kenny Dillingham. But, like, that blown coverage, man, oh, that was bad. That was real bad.
I don't even know how the hell that happens.
That happens a lot. And I can tell you because I watched Kansas do that to Missouri a lot yesterday. So this is college football at its finest. I am surprised the visceral reaction in one sense, though, from Mississippi State, because this is a team that in the past has had very successful programs. But hey, anytime you take down the goalpost, you beat a ranked team, it's a good time. But really, eyes are all in on South Florida. You're talking about getting Florida firing their coach. Look at Alex Golish, the guy who just came in from the same state. He has steadily built this program up. And now they have arguably, right now, 2 weeks in, one of the best resumes in the country, let alone G5 in the country. Beat down Boise State, and you beat them pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you walk into Florida, SEC school, and their home stadium, in-state opponent, and you slugged it out with them. It wasn't just like a fluke, 8 fumbles, weird this. No, you slugged it out with them, beat them 18-16. This is huge. South Florida quickly building the resume, and it's probably given the CW the biggest broadcast sports-wise they're ever going to have, whereas Miami and now South Florida will be playing next week on the CW, America's network. Live Golf and now the Florida schools. So there you go. What a fun week, especially one that didn't have a lot of high-tier games, kind of like week 1, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, some of those big-tier games. To have these really regional game that ends up in a big upset, and then 2, a fun Big 12 SEC game that dude, that guy has his shirt off with the cowbell. Cowbell's still there. Cowbell's still in hand, baby. Man, good for Mississippi State.
What are we gonna do if USF beats Miami?
I mean, that would be. I mean, so like the thing is, it's like South Florida, that's like, it kind of reminds me of like Northern Illinois last year where they like won, you weren't expecting it, and now everybody's like, they can be in the playoff. But USF now has to play Miami.
Yeah.
Much tougher schedule now. If they were to beat them, that would be, I mean, they're top 10 team easy.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, because I was just looking at the rest of their schedule, and then it's like, non-Power 4 conference opponents or whatever
Yeah.
for the rest of the season. So if they can somehow sneak out a win against Miami, which I highly doubt will happen, Miami looks very good. I might get USF like tattooed somewhere on my body. That would be
Dude,
amazing.
Get the
This is the
bowl,
thing.
man.
Even if they lose,
Yeah,
because of the rest of their schedule, they're still in a very good spot. They have
Yeah.
immediately built this resume that even if Florida tanks, even if Boise State tanks, those are two very good non-conference wins. Now, obviously, you still have to do it in conference, but what a start! And unless they get blown out, and I mean, like some of these games we saw this week, like the Ohio State Gramblings,
Yeah.
the world. If that happens, okay, maybe we're having a different discussion. If it's even like a 2-3 score game for a Miami team that could be ACC, and I think is ACC front runners, especially in this early part of the season,
yeah,
you keep that within 2 to 3 scores even, and you still do well in conference, they have solidified the bid. And also, again, they knocked out one of the teams that a lot of people thought was going to be
Yeah.
that G5 spot. You have that immediacy. And then let's say Boise goes on and figures it out a little bit.
Yeah.
You have that as a really good transitive win. But yeah, transitive win South Florida is also going to be very fun this year. Because if Florida beats anybody, South Florida's claims,
yeah,
great.
Yeah, I mean, you could have an argument where, and this is just not just for the final spot for like the at large for the non-group of 5 or whatever. You could have South Florida 11-1 potentially. Say they were to lose Miami, Boise State 10-2 potentially with a loss to South Florida and potentially a loss to Notre Dame. That's their other hardest game, right? So I mean, could you imagine that argument? Like, okay, South Florida would be in, Boise State 10-2 with a loss to a team in the playoff and potentially, a team in Notre Dame that we expect to be good. We haven't seen it after 1 week, but we expect it. That argument would be crazy because it's like arguing Boise State over, potentially a Big 12 team who basically now it looks like the Big 12 is going to get whoever wins their conference is going to get in, and that's it.
And think about this too. Boise State UNLV still exists here. UNLV undefeated and just took down UCLA. So now the Mountain West could help propel South Florida, which is also another thing. Because let's say Boise loses to Notre Dame, but that also means in this hypothetical situation, Boise State has beaten UNLV, which is I think the other team right now that's getting a lot of buzz, and deservedly so. They're undefeated and took care of UCLA yesterday. Did not let the comeback go through, but like that, there's a lot. It's so early. So we're still kind of getting our data points. We're getting things together. But a lot of early season trends pointing this direction. But South Florida deserves a lot of credit. And Alex Golish is a name. Remember him, please, because yes, maybe not the Florida job, but as jobs open up, especially in the Southeastern Conference world, that is a name that's going to get floated around with the stuff he's done early this year and the program he has built there. Because South Florida has been one of these like sleeping giant schools. They're a great recruiting territory. They have a chance to be good in conference, but have historically been not that good. And now they're figuring it out, and they've done it twice on the big stage. So, they're not going to sneak up on Miami. Let's just say that now with this type of win, but that's a name to keep an eye on and a team that is quickly gaining everybody's respect, and rightfully so.
Yeah, no, it's good. I will say I have so this is something that's bothered me now over the last couple of years as more teams start to do it or more fans start to do it. Storming the field when you beat the 12th overall team in the country should not be a storm. I get that everybody wants to storm the field. It feels great. I've done it a couple times and it's awesome. But when you beat the 12th overall team in the country, you should not storm the field. If you beat a top 5 team, storm the field. There's too many field storms nowadays. Way too many. It's the same with court storms. There's way too many. People just want to be involved. It's the dumbest thing ever. You beat the 12th overall team in the country, an Arizona State team who could very well go 7-5, but you stormed the field and tore down the goalpost and got fined hundreds of thousands of dollars by the SEC. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's tough. I see your point there, but also Mississippi State's had a road. They were they were on a 13-game Power 4 losing streak, an electrically fun game, and also very excruciating game for Mississippi State, which is you go up 17-0, you're feeling great, give up like 20 straight or at least 17 straight unanswered to watch this game get tied, and then you take over in the final parts of the game. Maybe not deserve. I think the goalposts were the part where I was more like, damn, we're taking out the goalpost for this one. Like
ridiculous.
Field storming, I think has become more common. Life goes on. The fines are good enough. I know it's a safety concern, so it's something I do keep in mind. But like I didn't think the goalposts come down. I think the goalpost is where I go, like, that's top 5 is in my world. Like, if you field storm for like maybe the top 15 as an unranked team, especially a Mississippi State team that does not have tons going on for it, but has looked way better year 2 under Jeff Levy, I get that one a little bit more in our current society, but taking out the goalpost, that's an effort. And one that is, I think, is more reserved for that top 5 team, because that's something you sell. Like, that's what if these smart schools like a Vanderbilt, you take the goalpost that ends up in the river, and then you chop it up and you sell it up for pieces to donors. I don't really know who's buying the Mississippi State Arizona goalpost, but hey, that's why we love college football, man. I'm more excited about the cowbells.
It does kind of depreciate the value of a field storm when it feels like we have like so many every year.
Too many. It's way too many.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And also taking down the goalpost is like a coordinated effort.
Yeah,
like you had to work as a unit.
You have to be psychopaths to all like they're all in a group looking at each other, and they all like stare up at the goalpost like, we doing this or what?
I wouldn't even know like if I stormed a field, like how do you even get the goalpost like out of the ground?
I think you just put a bunch of weight on the top bar. You get a bunch of weight and it just snaps.
Oh my gosh, it's like so dangerous.
That's why it's like there's some schools that have like the goalposts that they can fold up and down.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see, like, if it's like a game, they'll quickly take the cover off the goalpost and they'll quickly unscrew it or pull the pin so it falls down.
Okay.
And so that they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And also, if you've ever stormed a field, getting off of a field after it's being stormed is the worst thing of all time.
It's the kid version of traffic after the game.
It takes forever. It is the worst thing I've ever. And then they're all yelling at you to get off the field, and they're like, "You have to get off the field." It's like, what do you like? So, the first time I did it was Michigan Ohio State when they'd finally beaten them for the first time in like 50 years. It felt like, where you have people crying and calling each other in the stands and saying, "Can I talk to Grandpa?" and that type of thing. And that's 110,000 people storming a field. And then it was like, what the hell is going on? And then they're like, you have to get off this field. It's like, there's 110,000 people. And then the worst part is they're like, you can't use the tunnels. That's the easiest way to get out. And then you expect everybody now to jump back over. It's the worst.
It's the kids' version. If you storm the field, getting off the field if you're not driving, it is the driver's equivalent of leaving a stadium post a sporting event.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Like a major sporting event. It's like, oh, wait, I want to take the side road. Oh, wait, that's blocked off.
Yep.
Oh, wait, I want to get on the interstate. Oh, there's 40 cars there. Oh, they're telling me I can only turn this direction. Great, there's 5 cars blocking my way out right now. This is the child version again, because, again, especially if we're talking college, right? Hopefully there's not a bunch of 40-year-olds like on the field. That gets kind of
Oh, there definitely is.
There are a couple, but like you're hoping it's majority students and younger people to make that kind of like core beautiful memory, blah blah blah. But it's like, that's where you learn about traffic dynamics is storming the field, and vice versa. So to our to the younger audience here, if you think about storming the field and you hate getting off of it, like Caleb is explaining, that's what the rest of your life is going to be like going to sporting events. So sorry.
No, it's sporting events, concerts, anything that there's thousands of people, and then everybody packs in cars to try to get out. All right, so before we get on to the game that Jerry was at that he loves the state that they played, here's some other games that happened. Oregon crushed Oklahoma State 69-3. There was kind of some banter going into that game, which was pretty funny.
LOL.
And ended up Oregon flexing their muscles. Clemson struggled against Troy.
Yeah.
Down for majority of the game, but they pulled away to win 27-16. Clemson not looking good at all, struggling.
Yeah, isn't that so crazy? Because I feel like we were all kind of pretty high on Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked them to win the national title.
Yeah, and they are like really struggling out of the starting the season.
So Miami stock high.
Yeah, Miami's really high right now. I mean, granted, it's a long season, but
I even like Florida State.
Yeah, they look really good. Yeah, they have confidence, swagger.
Yeah.
They have a quarterback.
Yeah.
College football that wins you a lot of games.
Yep.
Illinois beat up on Duke, 45-19 at Duke. That was pretty impressive, I'd say, from Illinois. Now, Duke played very sloppy, but Illinois took advantage of it. Brent Bielema, he's not looking too bad.
And I think too, there was quite a bit of hype coming into the season with Illinois, and I think they're just kind of cementing this idea that they are a very good Big Ten team that will, beat, Duke by 35 points or whatever. So,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I mean in a Big Ten where you're expected to be, it's Oregon, Ohio State, Penn
yep,
State, Michigan, Illinois is just kind of there.
I will say the 5 turnovers from Duke do help dilute the score a little bit. This game was
yeah,
closer. I
Yeah.
kind of kept tabs on it as I was in lovely Columbia. But 5 turnovers does really help a team get to that point. But they really did take away in the fourth quarter. But this is a game you have to win. And the big thing about Illinois, on top of a really good defense and a solid quarterback, is their schedule. They've been kind of dubbed like the next Indiana type vibes,
Yeah.
which not completely fair, but I get the point. But you have to win games like this, and that's a good resume booster because they can walk in here and they do not have the toughest Big Ten schedule. They've gotten the luck of the draw in the mega conference, so power to them. That's a big time win, especially away from home.
Yeah, real quickly, I do have Illinois' schedule here. They play Western Michigan, Jerry's favorite school of all time and his favorite city. Then they have to play at Indiana. That's a pretty tough game, but you know how that goes. USC at Purdue, Ohio State at home, bye week at Washington, Rutgers, bye week, Maryland at Wisconsin, Northwestern. So yeah, once it gets past Ohio State, pretty
not
favorable.
too bad. Yeah,
Great time to pick up momentum as you move into the season. Iowa State holds on over Iowa 16-13. This game's always sloppy. This game is gross. It's about as pretty as the state of Iowa, which is not very pretty. This is one of those games, always bet the under, and it's going to be a one-score game. That's exactly what it is, and Iowa still has no offense.
yeah,
Huge win for Iowa State because they
Yeah.
usually end up on the receiving end of this. They have lost the last couple Cyhawks. So, yeah, this isn't always an ugly game. I kind of like it that way. If it was a high-scoring game, I don't know what I would do. I'd be very concerned. But big time, Iowa State continues to impress. And in a Big 12 that continues to muddy itself up very quickly, they have risen very fast. So we were talking about earlier ACC ups and downs. Iowa State stock very, very high. But this is a game they usually are on the receiving end of the one-score loss to Kirk Ferentz, who just finds a way to win it. The fact that they pulled that off, big deal.
Yeah, and I think too with Iowa State taking down Kansas State in week 0, and then Arizona State going down to Mississippi State here in week 2. Iowa, like you said, Jerry, Iowa State stock is like quickly rising as a favorite to win the Big 12.
Yeah, and you get these wins early and they pile up, and at the end, if you lose one, it's like, hey, they were ranked 5 and they lost one at the end. So, it's much better off for you. Baylor outlast SMU 48-45 in double overtime. This game to me felt like it should have been a Big 12 game, and it wasn't.
Another CW game too, by the way.
Yeah, CW's on fire with these games, man. ACC, CW schedule. Who would have thought that conference and that, channel is going to really dominate the wavelengths?
Yeah.
That double OT game. Shout out Dave Aranda there. That's a big time W. They were down for most of this game, fought back out into OT. Crazy to think that this is his team. Dave Aranda, the defensive specialist, known at LSU for the great stifling defenses he had as a defensive coordinator, now has like an old school, I should say 2010s Big 12 team, which is just scoring a poop load of points and can't defend. SMU, yikes. Things might get interesting there. Rhett Lashley built a lot of goodwill with that playoff run. I don't know about this year.
And I will say that there was a penalty. There was a targeting call that was called back. That at the time I thought Baylor just lost it. Didn't end up being targeting, and went to overtime. Ole Miss gets their first SEC win of the year over Kentucky, 30-23. You could look at that and say, "Oh, Ole Miss, Kentucky. Why was it only a one-score game?" I think historically that game's always been a one-score game and pretty close. So they lost last year to Kentucky, which kind of ruined their playoff chances along with other games. But that was the one where it was like, "Whoa, you lost that game, you're out of the playoff." So they came back this year. And I will say, Lane Kiffin is looked at as like this guy that likes to spread out, throw the ball around, go fast. And he is when he can be, but he understands in the SEC that he needs to run the ball, and they do that. So that's very, very interesting. They're saying he has like a 3-headed monster down there, which would be very interesting in the SEC after all that they lost to kind of replenish and come back.
That's supposed to be the Portal King. That's what he's supposed to do. This is a great game for when we go into the playoff discussion. Everyone's like, the SEC is the best conference because they'll cite this type of game where it's like, oh, look, Ole Miss was a one-score game against Kentucky. I know Kentucky's 4-8 this year, but look at how close they played this. That's exactly how these games go. But yeah, it's one of those weird. Every team has their bogey team. Ole Miss's is Kentucky for some reason. Mark Stoops, I guess, has his number because Kentucky does not have it this year. And that's okay. That team's been in a weird spot ever since Stoops tried to take the A&M job. So, yikes. But hey, Ole Miss won it, even though their quarterback threw like 8 picks.
And then the last one here, Michigan State fought to the end against Boston College, winning 42-40 in double overtime. Very interesting game. I was telling Jerry before, this is a game last year Michigan State would lose. They won it this year to kind of see the second year under Jonathan Smith with Aiden Childs. Kind of just see how they're slowly building that program back up. It's tougher now in the Big Ten, but it is interesting that they could potentially be one of those teams where we look back and go, that loss, really hurt that team. So they could be kind of a spoiler this year.
Yeah, I don't have much on Sparty outside of Nick Marsh is fun. I really like him. I want to watch more Michigan State this year with that in mind because he is a fun receiver. I like that 1-2 combo. I don't know how many turnovers Aiden Childs had in this game. That's always been my concern with him, but he has the talent. He can be that guy. Jonathan Smith brought him over from Oregon State for this reason. So very interesting, but yeah, big time win, especially at home. That one would have hurt to lose in East Lansing.
Yeah, and Boston College looks pretty decent. Their quarterback played very well. It was a former Alabama quarterback. Kind of funny that all the former Alabama quarterbacks are kind of doing well at their new spots. All right, to the game of the week for Jerry. Jerry, I will preface this. We did have a comment. What the best place down there to eat in Missouri?
What's the best place down there to eat, Missouri Jerry? We're going to start calling you Missouri Jerry.
Missouri Jerry.
Yeah, but to
photo Nolan Mark.
If we're eating the steak,
already in Missouri with that language, the way that
you ain't know nothing about grammar, here, brother. But on campus or right near campus is Booch's, great burger place. Type of place that closes on Sundays. That should tell you all you need to know.
Doesn't every place in the South close on Sundays?
Nope. Nope. Because they all the fast food places no demand. You should know this. Come on.
I don't hang. I'm the voice of the North.
No, you're SEC king when our previews, and I remember that. But outside of campus, if you want to go, it's a little nicer, not like super duper fancy, but Murray's is like a nice jazz bar that has a really good steak sandwich. That's your other go-to. Both places obviously really packed on game day. The whole town of Columbia packed yesterday. This was so glad this game is back. I know everyone's expecting to be here, but like, man, Kansas, I hate them all this like that. Both fan bases missed this game. Because, and I think even though this game kind of got put on ESPN2, this is a game that I really thought should have got College Game Day outside the game we're about to talk about in a minute because of how big this rivalry actually is. And I think it was really well shown by how this game went. Chaotic, weird, a lot of vitriol, some fighting, stupidity. Amazing. This was college football at its peak. This is a rivalry that's been dormant for 14 years. Both teams had flashes, had moments they could win this game. I'm obviously impressed by Missouri's offense. Bo Pribula continues to be impressive, especially now against a team that has a pulse. Nothing against Central Arkansas, but that's a talent gap that shouldn't be a problem. Kansas knows what they're doing. Lance Leipold is a solid coach, obviously, as he's continued to make Kansas better. But this game had everything. It looks like a real rivalry. I think this game was really kind of showed the theme of the college football week, which was, for the most part, a lot of these games were very regional. We have the Cyhawk, right? Our big upset is a interstate Florida game. Mizzou, KU, old Big 12 opponents, neighbors state-wise. It was great to have this game back. I will say this is the best I've ever seen for Rowe and Memorial Stadium, even with the construction going on. I've never felt an energy like that in there. But that's because this is the type of game that brings it out. And for all the SEC newbies and like younger fans, this was like the 1 week everyone's like, oh, wow, Mizzou fans actually can be kind of weird and crazy because, yeah, Missouri doesn't like Arkansas or any other team we play, but we hate Kansas. That's how that goes. Every team has their team that they hate, right? Michigan State hates Michigan. That's just how that goes. It's that same type of vibes. So I was really glad this game is back. It will be very fun next year in Lawrence too. And then I think they recapped the three games of this series in Arrowhead That will be
Mhm.
awesome. This is exactly what college football is. I'm obviously very glad that we won this game, but I'm more glad that it happened. And I think everything that happened in it, we could go for the ins and outs, just it reminded us of why this sport is so much fun. There's a rivalry game that had a little bit of everything. I'm talking safeties, interceptions, fumbles, 4th and 10, one-handed catches, blown coverages, like blocked kicks. I don't know what else you can ask from a football game. Awesome experience. Big game win for Mizzou. Still got a lot of things ahead of them. And the pass defense looks terrible. But this was college football at its finest. A regional rivalry where everyone hates each other that goes down to the last minute of the fourth quarter. Any arguments?
No, I mean, do you think you'll be allowed in Kansas for the game next year?
I'm not even attempting to step foot in Lawrence. Our great basketball coach, Norm Stewart, once famously said, we will not spend a dime in Kansas when they would go back and forth, and they would purposely stay in Kansas City to not spend money in Lawrence. And in the state of Kansas, that's how deep that hatred goes. Obviously, that's even deeper than that. This is a Civil War-based rivalry where cavalry from Missouri went down and burned the city of Lawrence. Cavalry from Columbia. During Bleeding Kansas and back and forth during the complicated Civil War era, especially within the state of Missouri, which had both pro-slavery and anti-slavery folks in the same state that also tried to flock to Kansas to change that vote. A lot going on there. I don't want to give you a history class. This is college football week. But this is literally a war. And it goes down to the Civil War itself and comes back today in the form of a drum, which is being held there. That's also been dormant for 14 years. That has both sides on it, both Kansas and Missouri Student Association. Really fun to bang that drum in front of the Jayhawks mascot, which we got to do this year. So, but again, this game, it's like the Cy-Hawk. It's like so many of these others where it's just, it doesn't really matter. We were all texting during this game or beforehand. And when it was halftime, I think Caleb said, it's like, oh man, they picked it up. Second half, they're going to do it. I'm like, nope, they're not. This is a war. This game's going to go to the end. It did. It was awesome. Great experience. I'm just glad it was back. And these are the games that make us appreciate the sport as it is, because it was everything you could want from it. Really.
Yeah, I mean, my other favorite thing was the guy that went out there to try and kick the field goal to make money. And he pulls up his shirt and it says FKU, and then he automatically turns and he kicks the ball towards Kansas's bench.
Exactly. And there's people, Sophie Cunningham, Missouri's finest, Indiana Fever player who's now injured. It's like, yeah, what's this guy's name? I'm sending him a signed jersey. That was the response from Missouri faithful. But like, that is where this will come. And I guarantee you next year when this game is in Lawrence, it will be the same thing. We had a former player, I'm forgetting his name on top of my head, the day before the game, drove to Lawrence, drove to the new football stadium, and just ran around it with a Missouri flag and all Missouri gear. Like, this is hatred. Like, we legitimately both hate each other. That is what you don't get that often. And again, from Mizzou specifically, and I know we have other games to get to. I don't want to spend all day here. You haven't had a rivalry like that. You don't have one in the SEC where you hate each other. Like the Columbia Cup because of South Carolina and being in Columbia, South Carolina, Mizzou being Columbia, Missouri. Like, that's a fun one, like the Mayor's Cup. But we don't hate South Carolina. We don't like them. They're very equal programs as years have gone by. Or even like a Kentucky, which can be considered a neighbor nearby. Pick, whatever team. We don't like them, but we hate them. And even within the old Big Eight, outside of maybe Nebraska, you don't have teams, at least in Missouri's world, that you flat out hate, or you're playing for a trophy or things like that. So this was, again, especially in a week 2 that was very regional, this felt like the perfect encapsulation of that. These are the games that fans want. These are the games that make this sport fun, unique, and different. We're going to talk about the NFL in a couple weeks. What NFL rivalry are you bringing up the Civil War? I mean,
there is none. I mean, there isn't.
Exactly. And this is not just Missouri specific. There are other teams with massive rivalries. You can go all day about it, right? But like your Michigan, Ohio States of the world, you're even Duke, North Carolina for basketball, all these things, these are specifically special to these sports, to college athletics. So to have this back, was I anxious as hell all week? Absolutely. But if it wasn't a real rivalry, I wouldn't care. And that's what makes it fun. So yeah, my voice is shot for a reason because I had a great time rooting on for the state institution that I now call my home right now. And most importantly, watching my institution take on the actual rival institution. Play Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, I mean, quickly before we go to that, Jerry. So Nolan said thank you. He also said a little rusty on the typing. I think he's just rusty and can't type. But he did have this question real quick: Kansas or Kalamazoo? You have to go
It's
to
Kalamazoo
one.
by a mile. There's literally nothing redeeming about Kansas. Our now Missouri journalism professor, John Anderson, as some of you guys may know from his time at ESPN, popped on to ESPN this week, and he's wearing probably the best shirt I've ever seen, which is an outline of Kansas in gold. It's a black shirt that just says, worst state ever. Correct. No notes. If the highlight of your state is Topeka, what else do I have to say?
No, I agree. All those states out there are kind of ugly. I mean, they are. They're, I happen to think that me and Trevor live in the greatest state in the United States, in Michigan, and we have 2 peninsulas, and it's the most beautiful state of all time. And when you go out, I don't even ever want to go out there because it's so ugly. Why would I ever? Except for Missouri, it sounds like a great place with great people. They know how to have fun out there, and they also agree that some states are super ugly and we shouldn't go there. And I love that.
I think this exact same question was posed in our group chat. And I said, yeah, I think Kalamazoo makes it looks like heaven compared to Kansas.
Who would have thought, folks? He does like Kalamazoo after all.
I mean, if we're comparing it to literal hell, yeah. To be fair, we have literally put flames into Kansas before. Again, read your textbooks.
Yeah. Well, Missouri, Kansas, happy it's back. It was one of those cool, like I said, makes college football great. The regionality of things. It is fun. It's cool to have those different rivalries. It is cool to have somebody that is involved in that rivalry and understands it better than us. But moving on to a school that is about 2.5 hours to the east of Kalamazoo, and that is Ann Arbor and the Michigan Wolverines. Them and their super freshman, who is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's God. He's the GOAT. He's only 18 years old. You know, this kid is the greatest. He's wanted to go to Michigan his whole life. He grew up in it, only grew up 30, 40 minutes away from campus, everything, blah, 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 blah. They go into Oklahoma and they lose 24-13. John Mateer, Oklahoma's quarterback, that guy is a baller. I think he had like 19 carries. He was one of those guys when he would run the ball and you knew it was going to happen and they still couldn't stop him. He brings a flair to Oklahoma that they have not had since Dylan Gabriel was there. And it is fun to see because Oklahoma is a program that when they're good, college football is good. And we need them to be good. I do credit both these teams for playing a game like this in a time where not a lot of teams want to play these big games. To have this game, Michigan versus Oklahoma, it was a fascinating game to where it was one of those where Oklahoma kind of controlled it, but coming out of halftime, it felt like, oh, Michigan may be able to do this, but ended up Oklahoma pulling it away. But no, it was very fun. I will preface it by saying I didn't think Bryce Underwood played terrible. He just didn't have the help from coaching or the people around him, but that's not his fault.
I was watching this game with a bunch of Michigan fans, and at a certain point, I started to feel sorry for them because
never feel sorry for them. That's your first mistake.
Offensively, this team Michigan looked terrible, and you can chalk it up to play calling or whatever, but there was parts of this game that were genuinely hard to watch because and I would say that Bryce Underwood may be getting whatever $50 million a year, but he looked to me very much like a 18-year-old freshman quarterback playing against a team that is very good. And I don't think I would say that the score doesn't do justice to how much better I think Oklahoma is than Michigan. I think they're more than 11 points better. I think that was pretty evident during that game. But I know we have Michigan fans that are listening to this, and I am just sorry that happened to you last night because it was terrible.
Yeah, I will say this real quick. Don't ever feel sorry for them, because if that was your team, they wouldn't feel sorry for you. They'd laugh in your face and say you're not us. Don't ever feel sorry for those losers. those
You're right.
idiots. Because all I've heard all this past week is how great this kid is at quarterback. No excuses. He's the greatest thing ever. And now he struggles, and everybody's like, well, he's a freshman. He's 18. No. That's not what you were saying last
Well,
week.
he looked really good against New Mexico. Like
Yeah,
everyone
no,
looked
of
good
course.
against New Mexico.
Of course. I don't know why he wouldn't look good against New Mexico. I also don't know why he wouldn't look good when you pay him $15 to $20 million to go to a school he didn't want to go to. I mean, that's a fact. But all right, on
Yeah,
to
wasn't
Jared.
he committed to LSU?
LSU, which I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to go play for Brian Kelly. He's a terrible neighbor, so I can only imagine him as a coach. But I'll just say, don't ever feel sorry for them, because whatever team you like, Trevor, and that team were to lose or it looked ugly, they'd laugh in your face.
Yeah.
They'd probably spit on you like Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Speaking of, a Florida player got ejected for that as well. We were talking about that upset. I forgot to bring that
Idiots.
up. That's also funny. After especially Jalen Carter did it on national TV in front of
Yeah.
everyone for the NFL opener. Sorry about that, Trev.
No,
hate
it's
to bring
okay.
up
Yeah.
the scars here. He
Well,
still
we'll
beat
talk
Dallas.
about it. It's going to get opened real quick.
Yeah, hey, you still won. Win's a win. But
Yeah, that's true.
you know, this has kind of been a go all in year for Oklahoma. So I'm not as surprised by this either. You know, we didn't really preview this game, so I don't want to act like I gave my 10 cents beforehand. But, you know, Mateer's one of those guys. Ott has not been impressive, which is something I'm keeping an eye on. But to all the anti-Michigan folks, get your licks in now. Bryce, I still like Bryce. I think he looked very good. Yeah, he had freshman moments, but they are still, and I'm not trying to be a Michigan defender here. I really am not. I don't care that much.
The people need someone, Jerry.
But like,
you both have the same Black M's. Who had it first, Jerry?
hey, and you know what? We both beat Ohio State last time we played them. So, you know, there you go. It's just one of these things that's like, who is he throwing to? And that's kind of, I think that's going to be one of the biggest themes this year is with Bryce Underwood, is like, as he develops, as he keeps going, and there are things that I am curious about. Like, they don't do any design runs for him, and he's a good athlete. I don't want to act like he's, you know, Mr. Pocket Passer or nothing else. Like, he can run the ball. They haven't given a lot of design runs, but that wide receiving core leaves a lot to be desired, especially for the guy, like you've said, Caleb, that you've paid all this money for. You can only do so much. And this is kind of, I think, a really good point early in the season to show us where both these programs are. That's why these games are so valuable, especially early in the season, where again, Oklahoma, I will continue to say this is a big year for Venables. They put a lot into this team, into this program specifically. Mateer's not alone. That defense is what Venables has been wanting it to be. He's a defensive guy, right? Defensive coordinator at Clemson before this. I think the Oklahoma defense really gave Bryce Underwood a lot of challenges, which is expected for a guy who's his second week as a freshman QB. I get it. He got the Michigan love and lore, which just made it somewhat insufferable. I get it. But if he keeps developing, if there's not some big hiccup this year and he sticks around in Ann Arbor, that could be scary. He has a lot of the tools there. I see the vision, but it's not going to matter. You might still be blind if you're throwing to nobody. So a good early season point, and one that will definitely be a good point to come back to later this year, as we talk about both these teams at length to kind of see where. But Oklahoma's supposed to be good. You brought in everyone you're supposed to. You brought in a quarterback. This is, I think, if not, I'm pretty sure the highest rated like transfer QB that was out there in the market this year. If not one of the top three. They brought in receivers after a really bad receiving season last year. Everyone was hurt at Oklahoma. So you've brought in a lot of these pieces. You're supposed to win these games. Cool that they played. I get why it got College Game Day. I am still a little salty about this. Yes, you can tell, because these are two programs that are historically very good, very successful. Both, if they're very good, are good for the sport in general. They're playing each other, and they don't play each other often. But, you know, that border war still was a lot more fun, in my opinion. I get it. But, yeah. Get your licks in now, anti-Michigan folks, because if Bryce Underwood gets like two receivers, things could get scary.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be good. So let's hear Nolan's comment. Coaching did fail him, but regardless, F all of them. This is a children's program. Cheating MFers. And yeah, don't feel sorry for him. Go Irish. Yeah, don't feel sorry for him. No, I will say it's fascinating, and he has the capability to do anything on a football field. It's actually crazy. And I think that the Michigan coaching staff is still trying to process that they actually have a quarterback that can do that, and that they have a quarterback that needs to do that. Sharon Moore's entire time at Michigan has been, hey, we're going to run the ball. We're going to be physical. We're going to run 2 backs. We're going to play against Penn State and not have to throw in the second half. And that's what they're kind of used to. And last night was the first time in, I would say, 4 or 5 years watching a Michigan game that they got pushed around on the offense and defensive line. And they didn't know what to do when that happened. Marcus Freeman has the same philosophy with Notre Dame. Look what they did against Miami. They struggled, and then they had to figure it out, right? Michigan never figured it out yesterday. When you are usually dominant, you play a certain way. There was a field goal that they kicked when they probably should have just went for it on 4th and 3. Bryce Underwood needs to run a little bit more, but I do like the fact that he likes to push the ball down the field passing-wise. But to Jerry's point, he doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to. Klein, his favorite target as of week 1 against New Mexico, the tight end, was hurt, and he has like a big air cast thing on his ankle. So who knows if he's going to play anytime soon. But yeah, I think it's just more for Michigan to understand, look, you have this guy that can do pretty much anything on a football field. And they still are playing like last year with no quarterback. Playing conservative, will win this way, be aggressive. And that's my biggest thing I would think after watching the first couple weeks of college football is some of these coaches with these quarterbacks that are very talented, and they're kind of handcuffing them. And they're not letting them play, not letting them make mistakes. Figure out if they can play or they can't play. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I would think with Michigan is look, you're not used to having a quarterback like this or having a team. I think J.J. McCarthy could have did the same things Bryce Underwood did. He did in certain moments, and it looked really good. But he was on a far superior team. He didn't have to do it. Now you have a kid that you need to kind of lean on. I get he's a freshman, but he's very talented. He's viewed as coming out of high school, I think his rating was one of the highest of all time. So I think that's Michigan's biggest problem is psychologically, you're used to being the more physical team and dominating. Maybe this year you're not totally, and you got to use some speed and use some different things. And I will say for all coaches in college football that run the goddamn bubble screens to the outside every 3 plays, it's ridiculous. Push the ball down the field. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I get these coaches have forgot about football way more than I have. But when you have 3 guys out there and you only have 2, one guy to block, it's not going to work.
Well, and I think too, it is one of the plays in football that when it fails, it looks kind of hysterical how bad it fails.
It's terrible.
Yeah. But I will say this as we kind of move on. Michigan could still have a very good season.
Yeah, I'm not saying
after Oklahoma, because like we all said, Oklahoma is a very good team.
Yes.
So I think the result of this is probably how it was going to go the whole time. But I think that Michigan, barring some crazy Big Ten upset loss, which could always happen, it's college football, baby. But I think they could have a very good season. Maybe losing a game to Ohio State or something. But I mean, what is that, 10-2 or whatever?
Yeah.
So not a terrible season at all, especially for a really young quarterback.
My eyes are not on next week, but 2 weeks from now in the Nebraska game. Big time for Michigan because on top of this, the weird self-suspension of Sharon Moore resumes next week.
Now you can't do anything. This is not like Jim Harbaugh's suspension where Jim was there all week and leading up to them getting on the bus to go to the stadium. Sharon can't do anything for 2 weeks. He can't have contact. He literally just has to sit at home for 2 weeks.
I heard the UP's good this time of year, so maybe go take it there, do something like that. But I know next week I don't think they're playing anyone I remember off the top of my head, but should tell you something.
They play Central
Michigan.
Shocker that those two have some stuff going on together.
Yeah, crazy.
Probably be 75-0. Central may not even show up on the field. Just give them a free
I
win.
miss Jim McElwain, man. Yeah, that Nebraska game comes on week 2 of this weird in and out suspension. I don't know how that Caleb explained it, but still kind of weird. Whatever. And if Nebraska, I'm not going to get on the Nebraska hype train. That always leads to hurt. But that's a game that can be very interesting if it, especially Michigan looks like they have so far, which is not a bad team. To Trevor's point, I think that's something we need to keep in mind. This is not like Michigan's completely off the rails and this is a lost season in the immediate. But that's something where, especially if we're talking about 10-2, a 9-3 with a kind of surprising Nebraska loss under a year 3 Matt Rule, which by the Matt rule is that's when you get good. I don't know if that's going to be true in this really big environment, but let's see. That's a game I really am looking to, especially for Michigan, as an important data point / game to see how this season goes, because you lose that one, then, they don't have as nice of a favorable Big Ten schedule as like in Illinois, as we talked about earlier. They've got some more heaters on the schedule too. So I'm very curious when they get to that Nebraska game what this team looks like. And if they look really good, that's also kind of interesting too, right? So a lot of question marks still there, but I am a Bryce believer. So that will hurt me in a year when he transfers out somewhere or does something stupid and looks terrible. So glad I put that take in the ether.
No, I mean, look, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be really good. I thought they were going to lose that game to begin with. I had him going 9-3. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the schedule, so they have Central, no coach. At Nebraska, no coach. It is very weird that they did. Basically, they did it so he could coach at Oklahoma because he went to Oklahoma, whatever. He's kissing them, whatever, soft. Then they have a bye week, Wisconsin at home, at USC, Washington at home, at Michigan State, Purdue at home, a bye week, at Northwestern, at Maryland, and then Ohio State at home. So, I mean, it's kind of funky, I would say, just because it's like you have to go to Nebraska, which I think Nebraska is much improved, but yet we still don't really know. Then you have a bye week, a team like Wisconsin who nobody really knows anything about. Then you have to go to USC. So, I mean, it's a little funky, but I think they'll be fine. They have to figure things out. They just have to, I think, just kind of change their philosophy a little bit and understand, like, look, we have this guy. We need to use him and utilize him. But yesterday was just frustrating. If I was a Michigan fan, I don't feel bad for them at all. But as I'm watching the game, you come out of halftime, you score 75 yards, like, okay, we're back into this. You have a shot, and then you kind of just play not to win the game, but not to lose, but you weren't ahead. That was the problem. So it is what it is. Like I said, I'll never feel bad for them. I think it's great. They deserve it. And all right, so now moving on. We didn't talk about this before, but I just thought about this. Week 3 games next week. We got some heaters.
Oh, nice.
Got some big ones. So we talked about South Florida at Miami. Pretty big game.
CW's finest, baby.
Wisconsin at Alabama. Don't know how good that game's going to be, but 2 kind of marquee names. Florida at LSU. It looked much better before the USF game. Vandy at South Carolina. Little Southeastern Conference heater there, I would say. Number 6, Georgia at Tennessee. Okay.
That's game day.
Yeah, game day is there. Why not? And Jared, game day goes now to where they have the game, which is all the SEC games. And
they literally didn't do that for week 1, but I understand your point.
They couldn't for week 1.
I know.
I mean, they had to go to the big game, but they viewed Missouri as Kansas is not a great game as Michigan, Oklahoma, which that's their problem. But whatever. And then we have Texas A&M at Notre Dame. Very spicy.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good one. And I don't know. I'm not going to give my pick yet. I'll wait till me and Trevor do a show Wednesday for that. But I don't know. That one is a little nerve-wracking.
My eyes are very much on Bama, Wisconsin. We were talking about data points and things like that. That's kind of how I view these seasons for a lot of teams. What happens in your moments, how do other teams fare, et cetera, because we only get about 12 of them. It's a very small sample size sport to try to figure out who's good and not. That Bama-Wisconsin game will tell us a lot about both teams. If Bama comes out and beats the out of Wisconsin, that tells me that they've maybe figured it out a little bit.
Bama's back, baby. Everybody's jumping
if
back
it's
on.
A close game, that tells me either A, Wisconsin's figured it out a bit, or B, Bama is sliding. So that one, I feel that we have plenty of good ones. I really like the Vandy shout. They beat the brakes off of Virginia Tech. Keep an eye on that spot too.
I didn't get a chance to listen to the last podcast. What was your guys' reactions to the Alabama FSU game? I was interested to hear what you guys had to say. Because I remember saying before the season started, like Kalen DeBoer, he's kind of on a hot seat or whatever.
You have people that if they would have won the $1.8 billion lottery, they were buying out his contract.
That's so funny, dude. That is so that we talk about it meaning more. The fact that your first thought is when you become a billionaire is buying out the football coach of your favorite college football team. I don't hear nobody in Northwestern talking about that. And they probably have the money to buy out any coach they want. That's a school with money out, you know what?
Yeah.
You hear anybody from what's the new Big Ten school? Washington saying, yeah, if I won the Powerball, we're buying out Washington's coach, Jed Fish? No. They'll do it in Bama, though.
Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't they? No, I mean, I think that was my biggest takeaway is like they're undisciplined. They're not as physical. And that, I mean, that's not who Kalen DeBoer is. He's not like a physical coach. He's more of like he's a perfect Big 12 coach. I think that's why he worked great in the Pac-12. It's just going to Alabama after Saban. You're not Nick Saban. And also these schools have to realize that, like, especially and it would be tough because you have some Alabama fans that believe that is the greatest college football team in the history of college football. They've claimed national titles and they've lost 4 games. So their whole mindset is like, we're the best. We should always be the best. But certain times you're not going to be the best just for unseen things. And you have down years at some programs. But yeah, you have to realize, look, Nick Saban's not walking through the door and you have this new regime and it's going to be a whole lot tougher with the way that college football is kind of set up. But yeah, so my biggest thing was like, look, Alabama's not Alabama and Florida State is – I said it. I had never seen a team that had 2-10 under the same coach come to the next year and make it feel like it was a brand new head coach.
Yeah.
And that energy was crazy. And Gus Malzahn kills Alabama every once in a while.
And man, the Gus bus rolling through. Tommy Castellanos has a real team. Shout out to that. But no, Florida State. I think Trevor to catch you back up. Is my big thing. I was more impressed with Florida State than I was disappointed in Bama because Florida State just looked that much better.
Yeah.
We'll still figure out Bama. Kalen DeBoer as a dog is a scary thing. I think that's the weird part. Like when they're a favorite, it gets weird. But when they're a team that's like, oh, this could be a toss-up, that's when they show up. I think back to the Georgia game last year. That was a great game. They've had moments where they look really good. So yeah, the Kalen DeBoer seat got pretty hot because they don't lose season openers, and they've played some big-time season openers. And, yeah, I'm glad, though, we're seeing hysterical Bama. We didn't get that from Roger Saban. This is a program that has done weird, goofy, fun stuff and also just flat-out crazy things. But you don't get that under a guy like Nick because he was so good. Now we're getting back to the delusion, the fun. Yeah, again, it's a program with the Bear Bryant, and all these things like that. One of the better coaching cradles, I should say, of all time outside of Miami, Ohio. All the streets know about Miami, Ohio. But it's fun when you have that kind of thing. It's also like, I kind of reminds me of like Tennessee a couple years ago when they got good again under Heupel. Everyone's like, oh my God, Tennessee fans are crazy. First of all, hate Tennessee fans. They're annoying. But two, they're annoying because they're so passionate. And like full kneeling and all this stuff like that, like Tennessee delusion, great. But it just means more.
It does.
That's what we're here for. But man, we got to talk about the NFL. It's back. We're back.
We do. Luke Hoxie, Carson Beck legacy game. Wow. Who did they play this week? Like William and Mary St. Patrick Day or whatever. Like,
yeah, so that was a
great game.
Carson Beck isn't a good Heisman candidate here, but if I don't know who you played, that's not good because we were rattling off games earlier like it was nothing.
He looks creepy. I mean,
might look less creepy in New York.
Maybe, but I wouldn't have him around children. All right, now as we're in the NFL here, week 1 of the NFL kicked off with Trevor's reigning Super Bowl champ, Philadelphia Eagles. I will say, I think Sal Palantonio said it best in the Dan Patrick Show, is somehow Howie Roseman, somebody needs to protect him, and whatever he has is the greatest thing ever because he's made 2 moves. These 2 moves he didn't make in his division, but have set him up even better. The Giants not re-signing Saquon Barkley and him being able to get him. And the Cowboys just getting rid of Micah Parsons just because they didn't want him there, basically. Yeah. Howie Roseman lives the best life. And the Eagles won it. Rain delay game, CeeDee Lamb's hands left him. A game that I usually call Dak whack, but he did not lose them that game, I will say.
No, yeah, that was a very scary game. And it was only the terror I felt was only strengthened once there was an hour and 15-minute rain delay. Because you're like they have to warm up, they gotta, we were kind of rolling a little bit before the rain delay. So I was like, are we still going to have that momentum? I think we got really lucky. I think if CD makes some plays down the stretch of that game, we don't win that game, or it's a tougher game to win. I think our secondary uh, is terrible, or not terrible, but there are parts of it that are much worse than last year's. I would say that you really feel Darius Slay not being there, um, and Adoree Jackson. I don't, I didn't know who this guy was until the game Thursday, and I was not a fan of how he was handling CD Lamb, which is a tough task. So it's a very hard week one thing to come out and do and guard CD Lamb. Luckily, CD Lamb towards the end started to guard himself. I'm totally happy with that, and I'm glad we walked out of there with a win. I hate Dallas. You feel very strongly about Kansas, Jerry. I feel very strongly about Dallas. I hate the Dallas Cowboys so much. I'm so glad we beat them, and it was like hilariously chippy, which I kind of loved. Because I was like, oh, I forgot. There's other humans on Earth that hate the Cowboys as much as I do, and they got to physically like assault each other. It was awesome.
The very weak one game, rain delays, people not catching the ball,
Spitting.
Lamb, like spitting. And then my favorite part, the subplot of like, did Dak Prescott spit first? Hell yeah, dude. We're so back. I love this type of stuff.
Yeah.
But like
Did
a lot of the
spit first.
slate, which we'll I don't know if we'll go by game. It's just been very week one vibes.
Yeah.
I think about the same thing about the Brazil game. Shout out to the guy who slapped Travis Kelce, not because he slapped Travis Kelce, but he stayed in the game and then swatted 3 passes afterwards, and probably was one of the biggest factors in helping them win. So like, not only did you get away with something that is definitely going to get him flamed on Twitter and Instagram, I feel bad for his DMs. I fear
people loved it, Jerry.
Some people did.
What I saw on my Twitter, people loved it.
Yeah, you're one part of the population. The other part of the population, especially the people who just got into football a couple years ago, oh no, like oh no, like there could be some vile things that are going to be put in that man's direct messages. So steer clear, my friend. Also, Miami bad,
Terrible.
and
Mike McDaniel, he's gonna be fired by week 8.
Yeah, Miami bad. What is it? The Bengals Browns weird.
Yeah.
What is it? Washington New York weird. Like that's like their great thing. Very week one game. Booty Bowl of the week. Shout out to Jacksonville, Carolina. Can't believe
they had a rain delay too, didn't they?
I know that game. I can't believe that game existed. But I go for the sicko type of stuff, especially early in the season, if you couldn't tell. But like, yeah, that game's disgusting. And Justin Fields lost a fourth quarter drive. What? Have you ever heard that story before? Especially you, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it now, and I don't know how I ever got bought in that, and why I was so all in on that. He didn't play bad today.
No, I mean he was a great guy to have on your fantasy team.
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers outplayed him. I mean, look, who would have thought? 4 touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers.
A Green Bay quarterback beating a Bears quarterback. I've never heard this story before.
Yeah, wow.
Shocker. Oh, it never leaves. And updates here. Green Bay looks very good. I'm scared. I hate that. I really hate that. I hate
the Packers with every bone of my body.
And the Detroit Lions are back to being the Detroit Lions ? That might be a development that isn't good. But
I'm a little curious with that. I almost wonder if the Green Bay Packers are just that good now.
That's what I'm worried about.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both.
I think the Lions definitely took a step back, but I would say that I will really see tomorrow night with the Bears and Vikings how this division is going to pan out. But I think, week one, sloppy. I could see them turning it back around. They are very talented, specifically offensively, and have huge pieces on the defense, Aiden Hutchinson. But, yeah, I am starting to buy into the idea that the Green Bay Packers are just an elite team right now, and then that scares me so much because they just got Micah Parsons, who is arguably one of the best edge rushers in the game. So that team is really scary, and you guys, for those of you who are in the division with them, Bears fans, Vikings fans, Lions fans, I feel for you. The Eagles do have to play them this year, not in in the regular season, so that sucks. But I feel for you guys who have to play them twice a year because
I
they
hate
look
'em.
good.
And
I hate
then
'em.
this is the same week that this article drops. That everyone's like, "Oh my God, Caleb Williams is actually going to be terrible." Look what he did last year. All
No.
these weird things. There's a big old Substack article that I did not read all the way through. I did
No,
not
the
buy the
media's trying
Substack.
to ruin him. They just know
Maybe
he's going to be great this year, so they're trying everything to break him down.
also
That's what it is.
we had the 4 o'clock slate got really sicko just in general. The LA Rams versus Texans game, I think it was like 14-9. That's two
Gross.
teams that are supposed to have good offenses. That's scary. Seattle 40 to the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is alive. Go. Congratulations to the fantasy owners who have him
He had a
after
baby bump. The baby bump had a baby, and it's a bump. You do great. You do better.
Well, he was questionable going into this game. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, are we doing this again?" No,
Yeah.
he played, so that's a big takeaway. And Bo Nix might low key have a sophomore slump. Kind of keep
Yeah,
an eyeballs on that one.
Because leading up to this, I had just been hearing about like the Broncos have a top 10 defense, Broncos this, and then I wouldn't say that the Titans performed super amazingly well, but there were some things from Cam Ward that I was like, this is good. Like there are some good things because that Broncos defense is good.
Yeah.
It is a very good defense. I was just surprised that this was an 8-point game. It is the NFL, so it's not like Grambling versus Ohio State or whatever. So there are going to be closer games, but an 8-point game from the Titans, who a year ago were terrible. And against the Broncos team, that's not bad, pretty good team. So that surprised me a little bit.
I'm just very curious about Nix. I'm very curious how year 2 looks there. And I'm also very Houston, Texas curious because that's a weird loss. You had a quarterback that year 1 was fantastic, right? Everyone was on the CJ Stroud chain, and rightfully so. It's so funny how quickly these things change, right? We're in year 3 of CJ Stroud, and he has not been as impressive. Obviously, year 2, he slid back. And then we're looking at a guy like Jane Daniels, who, even in not his best game, looked fantastic. And this game, like that game was weirdly close at some points. That was my local Fox game. I did not red zone it. I don't want to hear about the red zone commercials. I didn't legally stream it. I didn't buy it, so I don't know.
That was your local game?
Yeah, dude. It a lot of times if it's not the Chiefs or the Bears because they're the closest, and because it was Fox. Like think about, let's look at the slate here. What else would they put on? There's no ties for Jacksonville, Carolina. In that game again, just disgusting thought process game. Hate that. The good. I argue this game could have been it. I wish it was to have more fantasy players here. So personal bias would have been Tampa Bay Falcons, but
Yeah.
the mass appeal game is Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, that is true. I guess Tom Brady was on the call too.
Yeah, too. Well, that's So like, I think that was the mass appeal game, at least on the Fox slate. The only game we could have, I think, maybe could have got would have been Cincinnati because of proximity. The nice thing is because the Rams are in LA, which again, I didn't say that's a nice thing because they moved, but because they're no longer in St. Louis, the Bears usually take priority when they have the 1 o'clock slot because they are the closest. So that's nice for my Bears fandom. But oh my God, yeah. I also do think the Lions really are missing Ben Johnson. I get it. I don't know what he's going to look like as a head coach. I take no stock in the preseason, literally zero. But that offense didn't look bad necessarily. And yes, Green Bay might be good, but this was a team. Ben Johnson was just a really good piece in that, or it made that all that go. And I'm very curious what it looks like long term, because if this, even with the Green Bay being as good as they look, usually, and what made that team go, especially last year with all those defensive injuries, was the points. This was a team that dropped 30, 40 points because they had all the offensive weapons. Jameer Gibbs, Jared Goff looked elite. He didn't look bad, but he didn't look like at that same level we've talked about. So the Ben Johnson equation, at least in that sense, you could see that they're missing him. Defensively, it didn't look like they missed Aaron Glenn as much, which I think is a good sign. Obviously, again, Hutchinson being back, a big deal. But I'm glad it's back. But man, there are some weird games here, and for it to be week 1 with this type of weirdness, you sick people, the NFL. Like again, the fact you put Carolina, Jacksonville, I'm not getting over this as a week 1 game is disgusting.
Yeah,
that is vile. Like, that is nasty. Or even like Titans Broncos just feels nasty. Like, ugh. Ugh.
I really enjoyed the Jets Steelers game. I thought
That was a very
a
good
really
game.
fun
Very,
game.
very good game.
And I like to see Aaron Rodgers. I mean, for the past, a couple seasons, he was out for an entire season, and then B, hasn't really been playing like the Aaron Rodgers that we all like. Some of us know and love, some of us know and hate. But I thought he looked great. And I thought it was just a really fun week one game. That was probably my favorite game out of all the games I had watched today and Thursday and Friday. So
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games where it's like he clearly looks much better another year removed from the Achilles injury, which is good for the Steelers. Steelers, they'll figure out their defense. I just think, it's week one. You're trying to figure everything out. Most of these guys didn't play in the preseason, so you're trying to figure that out. Um, but yeah, I do agree. It will be interesting moving forward to see some of these quarterbacks in year two that have been crowned to be great. Which this is just what we do now in sports: is we crown you and we're anointing you. But yeah, Bo Nix and the Broncos. There's some people that have them winning the Super Bowl, and there's some people that have them missing the playoffs. So that will be interesting to see. But I think for the Lions, it is interesting to see like these teams have a window in the NFL to win games and potentially win Super Bowls. And it will be interesting to see if the Lions' window was that game against San Francisco when they were up. Because we could look back on that and say that's very similar to when the Jaguars should have beat the Patriots in that AFC Championship game.
yeah,
And now the Lions have recovered much better than the Jaguars did, and they have not dismantled their team and they've done well, but you do have your windows and your chances. So that will be interesting. But I will say, like, for the Lions, that's tough because like everybody's so excited for Micah Parsons to be there. Like when he got checked into the game, they were the same guy he took out of the game was excited he was going in the game. When has that ever happened? Where another grown man NFL player who's trying to make a living by staying on the field and playing, improving he can play, is like jumping up and down when Micah Parsons comes in to take you out.
yeah.
So it was like one of those games where you're just you had to ride the emotion, you had to ride the waves. I will say they came out in the second half and they drove it down the field. Granted, they didn't score a touchdown, but they didn't like. I think they're going to be fine, but it's a little bit of like Green Bay's really, really good, which I hate to say because I hate the Packers. But also the division is kind of caught up to the Lions and they have lost some pieces. So
Yep.
and when you're a team that's not like you had the coordinators, everybody knew each other, the way it looked. And yeah, Jared Goff didn't play bad. Tony Romo said it. He said he's playing fine. He's playing with what the defense is giving him compared to with Ben Johnson. It was like you attacked and you went at certain things. And now it's more of an approach like, hey,
Like
get
a
the five.
passive.
Yeah, get the 5-yard check down. So I think that'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's the NFL. I just told you guys before. It's like we forget that this is a competitive league for most part throughout the
Yeah.
weeks. And so most of these games are close. Some of these games are gross. I will say the Saints uniforms were disgusting.
Yeah, I didn't
Oh,
like
that's
it.
another ugly game.
Whoever approved those uniforms, somebody I agreed with them. That's Wake Forest, is what that was.
And Wake Forest isn't even good too.
No, it's just gross.
Ugh.
It was gross. And I will say Bengals still have problems.
Yes.
I get it's week one, but you still have problems. And I trust Joe Burrow will figure it out. Jamar Chase figure it out, but everything else, problems. Mike McDaniels will be fired by week 8. Tyreek Hill will be traded by that time as well.
Oh yeah.
He
did not
and
look very happy.
I think if they were to get rid of Tua, it's like $90-some million dead cap.
Yeah.
He looked terrible.
How much are the Bears going to overpay when we are like 4-5 midway through the season for Tyreek Hill?
I don't think we'll go after him.
It just feels like the most Bears thing ever to pick him up, and then he's going to like get an injury or something, and then completely tank in value. We give away like 3 first-round picks, one of them being the future Miami quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know if we give up that much.
I think I'm not. I know that's the point. I have no clue what it will be, but it just gives very Bears vibes of like giving away the future. Like, oh, we want to go in all in now. We're like 500, and then boom, we get Tyreek for like what? Let's say 1 first rounder, 2 second rounders, and then like the 1 first round pick we give up is like 3 years from now when we're back to tanking. Hey, can you tell I'm a pessimistic Bears fan?
I mean, it could happen, but the way that I'm like when I'm looking at like all the teams up there, I think there's 3 teams he could realistically go to. One, back to the Chiefs would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
2 to the Ravens, which I could see that happening. But 3, the 49ers, is they need a wide receiver. And potentially they need to make some moves and they can get somebody like that to help Brock Purdy.
Dude,
Imagine he went
what
to
a
the
terrible
Broncos.
fit. That'd be such a
would-
bad fit. Brock Purdy,
I
the
mean-
guy who can't throw a deep ball, going to like the fastest receiver in the NFL.
Well, I mean, it is funny because it's like Mike McDaniel's premise with Tyreek Hill would be the exact same premise that Kyle Shanahan would have. Is like give him the ball in space and hopefully he can run. But clearly it doesn't work in Miami, so it would be interesting to see if that works with the 49ers. All right. Creepy photo Nolan Mark, who can't type. Did he type it right? I think he did.
Prediction
maybe
for tonight. Real quick,
Predictions for
before
tonight.
we get into that, I have one more thing to say. I think Justin Herbert looked amazing. And I think there's been a lot of
Well, yeah, Trevor,
seasons-
he's a very good looking guy. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
he is
He's
a good looking
dreamy.
man. I got
you
lost in his
kidding me?
blue eyes. But
You kidding me?
also
The hair? Are you, what?
Yeah. I think for the past few seasons, we've been sold this idea that Justin Herbert is really good, and then he's on like a very mediocre, Chargers team. But I would say that to come out week 1 and beat the team who was just in the Super Bowl, and for Justin Herbert to play the way that he did, one, way too early, MVP maybe. I will say that Justin Herbert looked phenomenal, and then 2, this is good for them. Moving on to the season, through the season, I think they could be a top team in the AFC. They looked real. I think specifically Justin Herbert, he played phenomenally. So I'm super excited to see what he does for the rest of the season.
Dude, oh man, the future Michigan propaganda if Justin Herbert gets unlocked by Jim Harbaugh. Unfathomable. Oh, and especially if
That's
Sherrone
so
Moore
true.
doesn't figure it out, they're gonna be like,
That's so true.
"He said, Jim, you see what
Yeah.
Jim's doing with Justin Herbert? You got a beautiful girlfriend. He's in a great state. He has great hair.
Yeah.
Bryce could have had that, but no,
Yep.
like, oh God,
It's
see, it
so
all comes
true.
back to Michigan, and finding ways to think about Michigan fans and their lunacy. So there we go. You're welcome. To move us forward to predict tonight. Let's see who won the MVP last year. Josh Allen. I'll just take that for that sole fact. This game is very chalk, very even. 2 very good teams. That's why it's Sunday night. No duh. And it's a great end to this fun week. We had a lot of weird, ugly week 1 matchups. But I can go either way. I'm just going to say Josh Allen because he won the MVP, which means Lamar will play better because he's mad about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Ravens are favored by 1.5 points. So it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah.
I like the Ravens to win the game. I think Kyle Hamilton to bring Notre Dame into this question.
Like
is,
you always try to find.
I have to. I mean, he's the highest paid safety in the NFL now. He's got to prove it. And I think he'll play very good, probably have an interception. But I just think the Ravens are kind of that team that's kind of poised. John Harbaugh is a guy who's won a Super Bowl. I think we forget that sometimes.
Yep.
They have Derrick Henry. I just think it's kind of their time, but I think they go to Buffalo, and I think they get the job done.
Well, and I'm going to say for this, I think I'm going to pick the Bills to win this tonight, but I think whoever wins this is going to lose it in the playoffs, which is kind of how it always feels like. It always feels like the Bills beat the Ravens and then the Ravens, whatever.
Yeah.
And then one of them will play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, or hopefully the Chargers if I'm right. So yeah, I think I'm going to go. What did I say? I
You guys
said
are both-
Bills are going to win, and then the Ravens will win in the playoffs.
You guys are both on the Bills. I'm on
Yep.
the Ravens. I'll take that. And I will say with the Chiefs, and so they play the Eagles next too. So this is going to be the time to kind of jump on them. But until someone does not dethrone them from the division, I'm still holding.
I'm just
sight
going to
that they're
put
gonna
them
win
in the championship for the AFC.
Yep. And then very quickly, me and Jerry's Bears have a big one tomorrow. I don't know how the hell this ended up being Monday night, but it kind of made Sunday feel a hell of a lot better.
Yep.
We play the Vikings. The Vikings are 1.5 point favorites. What do we think?
I'm going to pick the Bears because I like the Bears. That's one, but I'm wildly fascinated in the J.J. McCarthy experience.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about him. I don't know if he's any good. Illinois-based and Nazareth Academy former football player and Bears fan at one point. JJ
he
McCarthy.
quit on the city. That's what
He went to Florida, of all places.
he quit on the city and then went to that school.
He went to IMG, so Illinois-based man, mad.
He quit on the city, Jerry. That's how you have to view him. He quit on the city.
But I have no clue how this is going to go. I think I really like Kevin O'Connell as a coach, which also pains me to say about a fellow NFC North team. I think he is being such a quietly fantastic coach. Everything that comes out of the Vikings organization about him, former players, etc., is very positive.
Yeah.
The Sam Darnold rebrand, like that. Sam Darnold's a good QB, but we're talking about unlocking guys. Did that exactly, but I have no clue what to think about him. And on the other point, I have no clue what to think about the Bears. This is going to be a very much I think a narrative setting game for both teams. Because again, with the Vikings, you're talking about McCarthy and all this. What does that look like? And on the other side of the Bears, it's what does this new look Bears offense look like? Caleb can attest to this. The Bears are known for having terrible quarterbacks, terrible offenses, and then really good defenses. Yep. And I think of my childhood, I don't think of Rex Grossman. I think of
Devin Hester scoring touchdowns.
I think of Devin Hester, but I think of like Peanut Tillman. I think of Brian Urlacher. Guys like that. I'm not, outside of our running backs, shout out Matt Forte, and also shout out Johnny Knox. There's my irrelevant reference.
Johnny what about a little Earl Bennett action?
I never quit on Johnny Knox. So that's my, he's my one guy that if everything would have worked, he would have been great. Like that's the one I hold deep in my heart. But I have no clue how this is going to go, but it's going to be a very heavy narrative setting game. And for the Bears, if this is a game, again, 1.5 point underdogs here, very possible to win here. You don't win this one, it doesn't get much easier, which is also something why I'm very curious. And I'm going to take the Bears hoping that this is one of the few they can sneak by. Again, Bears always hurt me, so not coming in hot.
I was going to kind of say this when I brought it up too. I think no matter what the result of this is, it's going to be two large overreactions. If the Bears lose, the Ben Johnson experiment is immediately a failure, which I don't agree with that. I think if they lose, it's going to take some time, but I can see that in the ESPN articles and stuff already. And if the Vikings lose, the JJ McCarthy experiment he's a huge bust, and we waited this whole year for this or whatever. I can see these two huge overreactions. With that being said, I'm going to stick with my friends here on the podcast, and I'm also going to go with the Bears, and I'm going to be cheering for you guys.
We just game day cursed them. Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with the and I'm just not picking the Bears because I'm excited, and I think we're going to be better, and I think with the excitement of Ben Johnson at home, I think it kind of helps. Caleb Williams has got nothing but shit thrown down his throat over the past, entire offseason. It is a children's program, but all these stories of he does this, that, and that. I think he's like, look, I just want to play football. From what I've seen, people like him and he works really hard. And from what I've heard from his interviews, he cares about football and he wants to be better. He doesn't want to be bad. So I think all of that, and then we have to look at JJ McCarthy as a rookie quarterback.
Yes.
And as a guy who has not played football since that national championship game where he handed it off probably 40 times. So, you kind of have to think about that. Yes, he has Kevin O'Connell. He also doesn't have Jordan Addison. They have Adam Thielen, who's 50 years old, out there playing wide receiver. I just think it's going to be a storm. The Bears, the excitement, Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun.
We're back, baby.
I think we're going to win. And now we'll probably all look like idiots. But no, I think the Bears are going to be better. I think we would be much better if we had an easier schedule. For some reason, we got this murderer's row of a schedule. But it'll be fine. But no, I think, I do agree with Trevor. The overreactions, if the Vikings win, Bears lose, it's going to be Caleb Williams. It's the worst quarterback of all time. Ben Johnson sucks. Should have stayed in Detroit. And it's going to be JJ McCarthy. Is he the best quarterback from last year's quarterback class?
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell, is he the next greatest thing since sliced bread? You got to pump the brakes. But yeah, I mean, a lot has happened. Football is back in the thick of it. Me and Trevor will be back Wednesday night to talk about Sunday night game. Talk about Monday night game, and then that's probably when we'll give our picks for college. I know Jerry will not be able to be there with us, but you'll be there. We'll text you with the picks, your picks. We'll have all that, just so we can keep making track of that. So we'll be Wednesday, me and Trevor. Sunday, we'll all be back together. breaking
Yeah,
everything down.
I need to get a Jerry cutout made so when he
Yeah.
isn't here on Wednesdays, he can be like right here.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, well, with AI nowadays, basically,
Yeah,
it's
hey,
true.
whoa,
Yeah.
hey, yeah.
I can be replaced very easily, which really concerns me about the future of my career. But at the same point, if you really need to, I guarantee you, Caleb can figure it out. Caleb, if you need AI me, I'll just type in a couple words. Just say, just hate Kansas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey Kansas.
Riff on Kalamazoo
This
when
means
possible.
more. SEC
Yeah.
means more.
Yeah. Be an SEC homer, even though you constantly complain about the SEC as a whole. And then, like if I just put those three things in, and I'm just like,
Well, you
oh,
forgot
yeah,
to add that the Pope somehow. You forgot to add that.
Yeah,
I know. That's honestly the only thing that's keeping me going for the Bears. And also, White Sox won the last 7 out of their 8 games.
Wow.
God's influence, we're feeling it. We're getting there.
There's always
Colson
that-
Montgomery, basically Jesus Christ. Colson Montgomery.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. That's a big one there. I mean, wow.
And also no MLB The Show card. I'm watching you, MLB The
No.
Show. He has like the most home runs in the second half of the season. He's got a nothing. And we got a Savalier card. We waived him. Take that, even though we're all on 2K right now.
Whoa, 2K back. Who would have thought?
Back.
But yeah, no, we'll be back. We'll figure out how to incorporate Jerry on Wednesdays. AI is a thing, but I don't want to use AI, Jerry.
Thanks. Keep you around a couple years longer. The retirement needs to get working on it, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have. What I'm saying is, we need more time of your voice, before we can load it all in. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Like AI hasn't fully built out the person that you are yet, so we just need a
Not
few
really
more
that hard.
recordings, maybe another year, and then we'll probably have it down.
Can you imagine a white guy who walks on his toes? Just put that into AI, and you have figured me out. Congratulations. That's also the first time Trigger found out that I walk on my toes. Which is great. I wanted to put that one live, and now for the viewing audience, which is
that's
going
something I didn't know about you, Jerry.
Yeah.
Great for two truths and a lie, because everyone has to think back about how we got there. So, like, if you walk and talk, and that's all that. And they're like, was he walking funny?
Was he walking on his toes the whole time?
No, it knows the Pope.
It knows the Pope, just everything. You got a bunch of things that people just
never
don't
spent
know
money
about
in Kansas. Walks on my toes, which was the lie. Oh
God.
man,
What a mess. But we got through it again. We'll be back, breaking everything down, talking about it, having fun, cracking jokes, and not feeling bad for Michigan fans, Trevor.
Yes,
Not feeling bad.
I'm sorry.
Do not feel bad for them.
I wrote it down.
Do not feel bad, because if you were in their circumstance, they'd laugh in your face and probably spit in it.
Oh yeah.
And kick you when you're down.
Oh no.
But with that being said, thanks for watching, and we'll be back.
what is a Jayhawk?